But anyway,
So
last night I was watching a live stream with Sam St. John and Steve from All the World's a Stage on Alex's show, Beer and Vinyl. Very entertaining. Go check those three guys out. And the topic came up of perfect 10 albums. What, in your opinion, is a perfect 10? There's not a bad song on it, no flaws. The sequencing is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. So I told Brian, pick out 5 albums tonight that you think are perfect 10s. I'm going to do the same thing. And maybe this will create a little buzz here and see what we have. But and Brian and I have some similar styles or genres, and some that are completely opposite. So it'll be interesting because we didn't tell each other what we picked out here.
yeah, I think maybe I might have a total of maybe, I don't know, 12 to 15 albums that I gave a 10 whenever I did scores.
Yeah.
So you said pick 5. I picked 5 that I thought were good. I mean, the first one I'll show obviously is a guy that I became a huge fan of, about 7 years ago. And that's Bob Dylan, Blonde on Blonde. I think it's a perfect album. It's got my favorite song by him, Visions of Johanna. Sad-Eyed Ladies of the Lowlands is just, phenomenal as well. I think that this album here for a double album has absolutely no filler. I think that Bob was at the height of his songwriting then. He had a string of 3 albums that were all released within like 22 months. He was just at the top of his game. Blonde on Blonde, perfect 10 album for me easily.
Yeah, that was in my debate of whether I should pick it or not. I didn't take any Dylan albums because I think my favorite one is Highway 61, but I don't like one tune on there, and the other, I think it's called From a Buick 6. Not a big fan. And on this album, what was the one that prevented me from taking it? It's pretty friggin' good. I'm looking at the song listing here. I'm not a big fan of Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat. It's too repetitive, and it's just not my thing. But that's a 9.75 in my book. Just
really close.
It's close.
Yeah.
It's close.
Yeah.
Mine are going to be 4 out of my 5 are going to probably be predictable, and 1 will shock people because it's not something I really talk about much. But the easiest one for me to start out with is Rumors. I think it's a perfect album, although the one song on here is Oh Daddy that I could live without, but I'm not going to quibble. Christine McVie doing her thing. But, you go through the list. Secondhand News, Dreams, Never Going Back Again, that little acoustic thing, Don't Stop, Go Your Own Way, Songbird, The Chain, which is my favorite Fleetwood Mac song, You Make Lovin' Fun, I Don't Want to Know, which is a nice little up-tempo number, Oh Daddy, and Gold Dust Woman. I love that album. And so I have to put that as a 10. I can't give it a shutout and say, no, well, I'm going to quibble over this and that. It's in my top 3 albums of all time, so it has to be a 10.
Yeah. Yeah, this is I've got it too in my 5 that I pulled because it's number 1 on my list of albums of all time. I mean, yeah, you're right. Oh Daddy may be the weakest song on there, but it's still a decent song.
It is.
For that to be the only weak link in that album. This album sounds just so good. I mean, the production is so clean on this, and the musicianship is just so stellar. Everything about the album is just great. And I think it came out of like that perfect time. It was the mid 70s, and that soft rock was just so prevalent, and it just ate up the charts, and it was a perfect storm. I think it sold 41 million copies in the U.S. That's just stellar. You're never going to see those kinds of numbers again when it comes to album selling. Not with the streaming being the way that we consume music now. Rumors, that was an easy pull for me too, Rich. So good call.
All right, my next one's an easy call because I just it has to be recognized, and that's Dark Side of the Moon. Absolutely perfect. The engineering and the sound on that are phenomenal all the way through. And it's just a masterpiece. I would say it's the best album ever made. It may not be my favorite album, but I think it's the best as far as the context of what an album should be and all that stuff. I mean, I love all the vocals and even the instrumentation, the little passages to segue are fine too. Breathe, Breathe in the Air. Time is a great song. Great Gig in the Sky. Money, Us and Them, and Brain Damage, Eclipse. Just masterpieces all the way through. All in one album.
Good pick. I mean, both of that and Wish You Were Here have 10s from me. I didn't pull those, since we only pulled 5. But yeah, I think that those 2 albums back to back for Floyd just, put them on the map for all eternity easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah.
All right. So my 3rd album, I've got this one here. I gave a 10. I got Otis Redding's Blue.
Nice.
Just stellar R&B stuff here. I mean, Change Is Gonna Come. I've Been Loving You Too Long. Just that song right there is just wonderful. Shake, of course, My Girl. His rendition of My Girl is just awesome. Old Man Trouble. Oh, some good stuff here, guys. He does a cover of Satisfaction as well. Gives a different spin on it. This is his own little special thing. Other than Sam Cooke, he has got the best male voice ever in music.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like, I had to do this one. This is a 10 for me. Otis Blue.
Yeah. Excellent. And my next one's it could be personal, but I still think it rocks and is a 10. And that's Springsteen's Born to Run.
Yeah.
I grew up with this album. I think I was 18 when it came out in 1975, the year I graduated from high school. There's one song on here that doesn't live up to the other standards, the other 7, and that's the song Night, the 3rd song in. But I'm not going to let it stop me from being a 10 because it works in context of the flow of the album. I mean, it starts off with Thunder Road. That's a tremendous opening. Right into 10th Avenue Freeze Out, which is the story of the band and how they all got together. Then Night. Backstreets is a classic. Born to Run, the title track, followed by She's the One, Meeting Across the River, a little mafioso stuff, and then Jungle Land ends the album. So that's a 10 for me.
But between that and Who's Next, best bookend, does it beat out Who's Next? It's right up there, huh? Yeah.
And you mentioned Who's Next. I was going to take Who's Next, but I don't like the song My Wife, and that again puts it down to that 9.75. It's just a hair short, but the rest of the album's fantastic. Right.
I guess I mean, this one here has the same thing where there's like one song on this next album that I'm going to do that, if it was standing alone and it wasn't a part of this album, I would say, but I learned to live with it because it is part of this album and it the overall feel. So I got Automatic for the People as a 10. Everybody knows I'm a huge REM fan. I've learned to live with the New Orleans instrumental. That's the one song on here that's kind of a filler. I think it's just to try to fill out that first side, so it'd be nice and even going down the stretch. But that back side of the album, it's Monogot, Raw Deal, Ignore Land, Man on the Moon's on that side, Night Swimming, Find the River. It's just, this thing is loaded for bear. Every song on here is just a great song. And this everybody I know Out of Time sold a boatload of records because it had Losing My Religion on it. It was a little too commercial for me overall as an REM fan. This is their magnum opus right here, Automatic. So
I agree with that 100%. I like that Find the River. That's like a hidden gem on that album for me. Really good. All right, my 4th. I don't know if you'll agree or not, but I can play this straight through 100 times in a row and not get bored. And that's Van, Moondance.
I like it.
I love this album. This is my favorite band, although Astral Weeks gives it a good run, as does Tupelo Honey. But this here, Stone Me, Moondance, Crazy Love, Caravan, Into the Mystic, and then side 2, which are not as well known, but they're all good. And that's Come Running, These Dreams of You, Brand New Day, Everyone, and Glad Tidings. Oh, fantastic album.
Very good. Yeah, just Moondance alone. It just
alone.
Just alone is just a fantastic song. Oh, good pick. Man. Let's see, my last one here, one that Doc really told me that I had to go back and listen to kind of when we were doing our whole, is this album really that good or this album not really that bad stuff. And I did. I listened to it. I was taking a nice long tennis trip. It was 3 hours downstate. Threw it up on my headphones and kicked back and listened to it. So I got Ziggy Stardust as a 10. I mean, just that second side just is just so good. I mean, you got Lady Stardust, Star, Hang On to Yourself, Suffragette City, like my favorite song by Bowie, you know, Rock and Roll Suicide, you know, as that bookend track. I grew to love this album, and it's an album you play all the way through every time. You want to play it all the way through. There's no sense in just listening to one or two tracks. Listen to the whole album. So,
yeah, it's my favorite Bowie album by far. So I'm glad you took that one. And my last pick, which I don't have on vinyl for some reason, thought I did. I must have gave it away. I have it on CD, and this is the one that people are going to go, ooh and ah, really? That's a perfect 10? Well, it is for me, and that's Boston's debut.
Oh,
I absolutely think this is a banger, man. All 8 songs. I got to read them off. Why not? More Than a Feeling, which was all over the radio, as was Peace of Mind, Foreplay, Long Time. That's side 1. And then you got Rock and Roll Band, Smokin', Hitch a Ride, Something About You, and Let Me Take You Home Tonight. I think that's excellent all the way through. And even though I'm not an arena rock or that kind of guy that favors those bands, I have to give it its proper due, and that's a perfect album.
Yeah, they were never able to repeat it, but then again, they spent like 4 or 5 years making that album from a production standpoint, and then of course after that, the record company wants you to crank out your next one in less than a year.
Yeah,
and it's like, of course, the quality's not going to be there. I mean, the attention to detail on that first album.
Yeah,
you got to give it its credit. You're right. I mean, it's. People are maybe running hot and cold on it, but it's a solid album. Again,
it's the overplayed factor that people get pissed off about. I mean, it's almost 50 years ago. It's 48 years ago. And it's just amazing to me in 1976, and even into 77, the airplay of some of these monster albums. I mean, Frampton Comes Alive was all over the place then. Then you have something like Hotel California, massive airplay, this Boston album. Then the following year, Rumors and Saturday Night Fever, and just such dominance on the radio that you couldn't help but get these things earwormed into your system.
Back then, if you got into the top 40 for albums or songs, you earned it, because that's how good the charts were back then. It's like we break into the top 50 albums. Yeah, very competitive. I mean, there were albums that were selling 3 or 4 million copies that weren't finishing in the top 50 for end of year list. That's how competitive it was.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So I just thought that would be a little fun exercise to do, and put my perfect 10s out there with Brian's, and we matched on one, which was really cool. And I couldn't be. I would pick REM as if it's not a 10, it's definitely a 9.5 for me. But great album.
There are other ones too, like we just obviously just picked 5, but I mean, I would probably include Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle.
Sam had that one in his list. Yeah,
I would definitely have that. I am a hip hop fan, but I don't have any hip hop albums that I would give a 10. I mean, I do have maybe 1 or 2 I'd give a 9, but it's just not a genre that warrants 10. If there's a genre that has a lot of filler, traditionally it's hip hop, because they even put skits in there, and those skits, that's what that is. That's just filler.
I didn't put any Beatles albums in there, even Abbey Road, because it's got Maxwell Silverhammer on it. But
Abbey Road's my favorite Beatles album, but I wouldn't give it a 10.
Damn near perfect. And I didn't put any Dylan, although I could have argued 2 or 3 different ones. And Led Zeppelin 4, which many consider a perfect album. I'm not a fan of 4 Sticks. The one song on there that hurts it a little bit. The other 7 are dynamite. But, these lists are personal, and you just have to accept that somebody else who, loves music as much as we do is going to have a completely different top 5. That's just the way it is. Anyway, that's our list right now on short notice, pulling 5 perfect 10s, dedicated to Sam St. John, who asked for it, and we delivered. So go over and check out Brian's channel, Massey's Main Entertainment. There'll be a link below, and look for our movie bracket or music bracket video coming out on Monday, where we match up the field of 64. Brian took the painstaking work of putting together the 64 seeds and Doc, Brian, Randall Nelson, and Sam St. John, and I are the 5-man deciders, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and it's going to go on for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I guess. So
yeah,
check that out. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time.